Over the next week, the United States is set to experience some truly wild weather patterns that will have a big impact across the country. Two major winter storms are expected to bring snow, freezing rain, and ice to parts of the Midwest, Northeast, and Great Lakes region. Meanwhile, an intense heat wave continues to bake the southern plains and southeast, with record-breaking warmth expected through much of the week. To top it all off, there's a growing chance of an Arctic blast arriving around the middle of February, which could bring some of the coldest air we've seen all winter long, and with it, even more snow and ice. This unusual combination of heat and winter storms is setting the stage for a very active and unpredictable weather pattern in the coming days. Right now, an atmospheric river event is bringing heavy rain and mountain snow to the West Coast, particularly California, Oregon, and Washington. An atmospheric river is essentially a narrow, concentrated flow of moisture carried by the jet stream, which can bring massive amounts of rain and snow to the regions in its path. This phenomenon is not rare, but this particular event is notable because it will produce extreme snowfalls in the Sierra Nevada, with some areas potentially receiving up to 150 inches of snow over the course of several days. That's an insane amount of snow, though. It's mostly expected at higher elevations and not at ground level, but still, it's a huge deal for anyone in those mountain areas. Not only will the snow create difficult driving conditions, but it will also increase the avalanche risk in mountainous regions, which is something to keep in mind if you plan on heading to the mountains this week. But before we get into the details, hit the subscribe button, like this video, and leave your thoughts in the comments. Thank you for your support. As the system pushes inland, it will interact with colder air in the central U.S., setting the stage for our first major winter storm of the week. In the coming days, snow will continue to fall across the upper Midwest and Great Lakes. It's not going to be anything too extreme, with only a few inches expected in some areas. But it's worth noting that this snow is part of a much bigger storm system that's going to evolve as we head toward the middle of the week. By Tuesday, we'll see the first signs of the storm system developing over the central U.S., and by Wednesday, it will begin to intensify, bringing a mix of snow, freezing rain, and sleet from the Midwest all the way into the Northeast. By Wednesday, we can expect snow to fall across Michigan, northern Indiana, Wisconsin, and even parts of Iowa. In these areas, snow accumulation could reach between 3 to 6 inches, with localized higher amounts possible, particularly as the storm tracks into the Northeast. However, the bigger concern from this first winter storm is the freezing rain. As temperatures hover around the freezing mark, rain will fall and freeze upon contact, creating dangerous ice accumulation. This ice could lead to treacherous travel conditions across a wide swath of the central U.S. from Missouri and Illinois to Ohio, Pennsylvania, and New York. Some areas could see up to a quarter inch of ice, which is enough to create slick, icy roads and potentially cause power outages as ice accumulation weighs down power lines and trees. As we move into Thursday, the storm will shift eastward, with the Northeast, including New England, becoming the focal point for heavy snow and ice. In these areas, snow will accumulate heavily, with the potential for 6 inches or more in parts of northern New England. However, the greater concern will be for those areas dealing with freezing rain. For example, areas in Pennsylvania, New Jersey, and parts of Virginia could experience significant ice accumulation, with up to half an inch of ice possible in some places. This will create a serious risk of hazardous travel, especially for anyone commuting during the early hours of Thursday morning. Additionally, along the East Coast, rain will be the dominant precipitation type initially, but as the storm progresses, it may switch to snow, especially in higher elevations, which will bring another round of hazardous driving conditions. While the winter weather is the primary concern, the storm will also bring the potential for severe weather. Severe thunderstorms are possible in parts of the lower Midwest, and Ohio Valley is warm. Moist air from the Gulf of Mexico interacts with the cold air from the north. This setup is unusual for February, but it's a reminder that weather can be unpredictable. Strong winds, hail, and even isolated tornadoes are possible in these areas, especially late Wednesday into Thursday. While it's not expected to be a major outbreak, it's something to keep an eye on if you live in the risk zone. As the first storm clears out by Thursday night and Friday, we'll briefly see a lull in the weather before the next round of winter weather arrives this weekend. This second storm will likely follow a similar track to the first one, bringing another round of snow and ice to the Midwest, Ohio Valley, and Northeast. While details are still a bit uncertain at this point, it's clear that this pattern of back-to-back winter storms will continue through the weekend, keeping conditions active and unsettled across much of the country. Once again, significant ice accumulation is a concern, especially in parts of the Great Lakes and Midwest, where the ice could cause more problems with travel and power outages. Alongside the snow and ice, the southern plains and southeast are experiencing an intense heat wave. Temperatures in these regions are running 20 to 30 degrees above normal, and many cities are breaking daily high temperature records. Areas such as Dallas, Houston, Atlanta, and even parts of Florida are sweltering in record-breaking warmth, which is very unusual for early February. The heat will continue through Thursday, and in some areas, it could last well into the weekend. This heat wave is creating a stark contrast with the winter storms happening just to the north. As temperatures climb into the 70s and 80s in the south, just a few hundred miles to the north, heavy snow and ice will be falling, making for a very dramatic weather setup across the country. As we move into Sunday, February 9th, things are going to get interesting in the Northeast and Mid-Atlantic. We could see a mix of rain, snow, and freezing rain as that warm front tries to push further north. There's still a lot of uncertainty about how far north this warm front will make it, but if it moves too far, we could see some rain mixed in with the snow. But even so, I'm expecting some decent snowfall across New England, and the secondary low developing behind the main system could bring even more snow to the region. The models are still shifting a bit, so I'll be watching this closely. But it definitely looks like there's potential for a significant snowstorm across these areas. Looking ahead to next week, Tuesday the 11th through Thursday the 13th is when things really start to get interesting. We could see a major snowstorm develop for the Mid-Atlantic, with heavy snowfall stretching through Virginia, West Virginia, and Maryland. This storm system could extend into southern New Jersey and Pennsylvania as well, and if it moves further north, it might even hit parts of southern New England. This is a pretty big snowstorm in the making, and it's right on the horizon. The potential for significant snow in these areas is definitely there, and I'll be watching to see how this develops over the next few days. Then around Thursday the 13th and Friday the 14th, we could see yet another big snowstorm in the Midwest and Great Lakes. If this one materializes, we're looking at some heavy snow in places like Illinois, Michigan, and northern Indiana, stretching into the Ohio Valley as well. The models are in pretty good agreement on this one, and it looks like this system could bring some significant snow to these areas. It's shaping up to be a pretty active weather pattern, so I'll be keeping an eye on the timing and strength of this one. By the time we get to the middle of the month, we're looking at some seriously cold temperatures moving in. The models are showing a significant Arctic blast around February 15th and 16th. This is when we could see some of the coldest temperatures of the season, with parts of the Midwest, Great Lakes, and Northeast seeing temperatures 25 to 35 degrees below normal. That's some pretty intense cold. And if this pattern holds, it's going to feel a lot like the deep Arctic air we saw back in January. The cold will be harsh, and it's likely to stick around for a while. So if you've been hoping for more snow and cold, this is the time to get excited. The models are definitely showing a much colder and snowier pattern for mid-February, with potential for some major snowstorms in the coming weeks. We're looking at widespread snowfall across the plains, Midwest, Great Lakes, and Northeast, with some significant snow totals possible. If you live in these areas, definitely stay prepared for a lot of winter weather in the next couple of weeks. Now, the models aren't always perfect, and there's still some uncertainty with the timing and exact placement of these storms. But the overall trend is cold, active period, with lots of snow and potentially some really frigid temperatures. It's exciting to track these systems, and I'll be here with daily updates as things unfold. I'm really looking forward to seeing how this all plays out, and I hope you are too. If you're enjoying this coverage, make sure to hit that subscribe button and turn on the notification bell so you never miss an update. I upload every single day, and with these systems moving in fast, you'll want to stay tuned. Also, if you liked the video, give it a thumbs up and drop a comment down below. I'd love to hear your thoughts on all this upcoming snow. Thanks for watching, and I'll see you in the next one. Stay warm, everyone.